challenging thing about brain injury, mine is traumatic. So I'll give you a quick story. In 2008, my husband and I were driving home from a Yankees baseball game, and were hit head-on by an 18-wheeler that came across a concrete divide. 6 weeks later, I woke up at Helen Hayes Hospital and learned that my husband was killed in the crash. We would have celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary while I was in the coma. So as a TBI, I was inpatient. I received the best services and care. Thousands upon thousands of New Yorkers aren't traumatic. There might be slip and falls, anoxic injuries, sports concussions. There are a lot of those folks here today. And what we're doing now is helping to advocate that they get equal access to those services. And we make brain injury look good, right? You can't see our hematomas and our concussions and our memory loss.
Right.
But this is probably the best I've ever looked. I now am able to go to the gym and do things that I previously couldn't do. I was a vice president of a public relations firm in the city, and I didn't have time for myself. But now we're able to use this extra time to take care of and protect the services that others so badly need.
Indeed, definitely. That brings me to my new initiative.
All right.
I'm starting a nonprofit organization.
Of course you are.
Talking Brains Initiative Incorporated.
Talking Brains Initiatives Incorporated.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, what we do is, there is power for survivors, not to sit in silence, but to be able to get up, reach out, and meet in fellowship.
Yes,
and have people to identify with.
Because isolation is a signature injury. It's a signature part of this injury. And so it's so important that you can build community and find community at a time when you feel particularly lost and confused.
And the military personnel,
Yes.
Men and women, even though not all are sustained through combat, risk-taking behavior is heightened when they're in that zone and then they come home to their real lives. So there's a lot of traumatic brain injuries there, as well as the suicide rate.
Yes.
20 per day we're losing of military. So I wanted to encompass that area as well and see how I can be of service to them.
Amen.
Full
So
circle.
he calls me his hill buddy,
Yes.
and it was because we met on Capitol Hill when?
3 years ago?
Sweet.
Yeah.
3 years ago. We went to National Brain Injury Awareness Day in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Are you going this year?
I am going this year.
Yes. And I hear you're bringing some people with you?
I'm not sure. I brought 5 with me this time, so I might have to twist some arms. And it's just such a wonderful day's event, and it's helped me get beyond the place of being sick and suffering, and silent.
Yeah.
Just by reaching out and speaking to another individual has given me so much ability to live a happier and healthier life.
Amen.
Amen.
And to think that you're providing this experience to 5 friends. I first learned about the National Brain Injury Awareness Day in 2009. My advocate in North Carolina brought me, Karen Keaton, and that was the first time that I walked the hill. And to have that experience and know that I wasn't alone, that there are millions of us across this country, each year, something like 2.5 million join our family.
Right.
And I suspect that number is much higher in actuality, because it's not including the undiagnosed brain injuries.
Right.
So that we got to build our friendship in DC. It's just very cool that you're bringing others to experience this family.
Right. No, it's
on a federal level.
Definitely. It's the gift that I'd been given, and
Amen.
just being able to unwrap this present is, me wrapping it back up again by bringing other individuals and kind of saying, here, look, this is all you have to do. Get in touch with yourself, connect with others that are similar, that understand what you're going through, that can be the shoulder for you to lean on.
Amen. And here we are in Albany on Advocacy Day, the second annual. And there are those living with brain injury who are nervous about remembering the talking points. And at the end of the day, the deal is this. If you don't recall talking points, that's okay. Our stories are what's valuable and important for our representatives to learn about our lives and how we're impacted by brain injury. This is Ned
Vickers,
who's an awesome survivor from New York City area. I know him from a support group that he participates in at Mount Sinai Hospital. And this project created by Devitt is to capture people's stories about brain injury. And we are here in Albany on Advocacy Day. And I wanted to ask you, what are the priorities that you have today in Albany?
Well, my history dictates my priorities. So my history is I've had 16 unconscious, loss of conscious episodes since I was young. And then I've had 2 TBIs after a 9/11 flashback, which were life-altering. So I call it the cumulative effect, plus you add in 2 that were substantial. And for that reason, I volunteer at Mount Sinai for a number of years. I went to the cognitive rehab aspect, which was the first care I got specifically for brain injury, and I saw the difference that it can make. So it wasn't just being alone out there and suffering with brain injury, it was finally I'm meeting people and feeling connected, as well as getting the cognitive and emotional regulation rehabilitation that I needed. And that changed my dynamics of my recovery and trajectory.
You found your tribe.
I found my tribe, and I couldn't be happier. It's everything to connect with others, so we're not feeling isolated, we're feeling a me too, we too is what I call it.
Yes.
And so that's in both support groups for stroke, meningitis. We won the National Stroke Award for Support Group of the Year this year at Mount Sinai.
What? Support Group of the Year?
So we're happy about that. We have a phenomenal group. And so right now, part of the research that I'm involved with at Mount Sinai is to donate my brain based on the fact of the cumulative concussions and the 2 TBIs, which could set me up for the trajectory of CTE, like a football player, but I didn't get paid like a football player. I didn't get paid like a professional or a wrestler. I'm a normal guy, and it was actually helping other people that most of these things happened. So for that reason, I'm here for one bill under Cusick, which is a brain donation bill, which I, being of sound mind and body, as a marathon runner that saved my life, I cannot donate my brain in advance. I have to wait till I die and have a relative notify them. So if I had, for example, ALS, there's only about 6 or 7 hours for them to get my brain to preserve it. So there's Parkinson's, ALS, early dementia, Alzheimer's. They're all related to cumulative concussions. And we can only do this post-mortemly now. We are hindering the research that is possible on stopping the tau proteins and the cascading effect of brain injury by not having these research abilities out there. And so that's one, I believe I have the right to donate my brain in advance, and that's being hindered by New York state legislation.
He's proposing putting a brain logo on driver's licenses so that immediately whomever finds you knows that you want to donate your brain. How awesome is that?
So that cuts down on time. And time is critical when we're trying to preserve, research-wise, what's happened to this person's brain over the sense when they have my historical background.
I affirm that someday my driver's license will have a picture of a brain on it because of you.
Well, I thank Assemblyman Cusick and his co-sponsors, but we need to get this out of the healthcare legislative side. So that's what I'm here to do, is to say, we will put the Brain Injury Association group behind it. The other one is, which unlikely to be passed here, it's an education bill, and it's preventing tackle football in children ages 13 and under, which the science will prove and has proved in both hockey, football, and soccer, especially with females in soccer, that the consecutive brain trauma is ending up and likely to affect them, and possibly CTE in the future. That is another bill that is going to get some pushback, but if you think of it logically, who doesn't want to protect their children?
Right.
And so those are the two bills I'm here for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When Ben Franklin walked out of the convention that gave us the Constitution, a woman stopped him on the street and said, "Mr. Franklin, what have you done?" And Franklin said, "We have given you a republic if you can keep it."